Welcome, everyone, to a West Side Lions podcast. This is your host, Ben Miller, here at Lions West Side on Twitter. With me is Austin Rudland. Austin, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Ben.
Good. We've got
Besides
a,
the cold weather.
oh my gosh. Yeah, I know we had like a nice week where we had like 60s and stuff like that, and now we're getting snow again. So, um, what better way to spend this awful weather time talking about Detroit Lions. Um, so that's what we're going to do today. We've had a quite the off season these past few weeks here, and we have not done an episode because there's just been so much going on that if we were to record any day, we know we would be missing out on something. It seems to have calmed down now, so we can kind of go over what happened. Um, we're not even going to talk about like the most exciting, crazy stuff that went on in the NFL in this episode because most of that happened outside of Detroit. Detroit, for the most part, has been pretty quiet with their free agency, but doing what has to get done, right? I think that they're taking a smart approach to the way that they're building. They're bringing back players that played well for them and then building through the draft, which, in my opinion, when you're rebuilding, that's the right way to do it. So let's go into, I'll do a quick overview of what the Lions did this offseason, and we'll just kind of talk about it. So the big one to start with was we re-signed Tracy Walker. That was a huge one that we all wanted to see happen. We assumed it was going to happen, but we got pen to paper there. We re-signed Josh Reynolds, which is good. I think that really shored up like our wide receiver 3 spot. Re-signed Evan Brown, which I think is a very underrated signing to have that backup center spot now locked in. There was a chance that he probably could have started on another team if he wanted to go test the market. But I'm glad to have him back. And I would say now that offensive line is pretty much just set in all the starters and backups. Um, we re-signed Alex Anzalone. We re-signed Jason Kabinda. Uh, a move that was a little bit surprising to some, I would say most. We re-signed both of our backup QBs, Tim Boyle and David Blau. Um, it was a little bit. A lot of people were confused about David Blau. I wasn't as much, and we'll get into it in a second. But re-signing both of them was awfully surprising. Some other things that happened this offseason so far: Trey Flowers has been released, another pretty expected move that was going to free up a lot of cap space for us that was kind of needed, and he hasn't really produced to the contract he was given. He's a great guy and everything. I think he got trashed on Twitter, which is very upsetting. Um, but he really is a great guy, and he just wasn't living up to the expected pay. Another surprising one is Jalen Reeves-Maybin. Actually went and signed with the Steelers. That was a guy I expected that the Lions would bring back rather quickly. It seemed like he was really kind of set to be on our team this next year, but that did not happen. And then I would say maybe the biggest news feed part from free agency for the Lions, we went and signed DJ Chark to a 1-year deal. Basically, it's 1 year, 10 mil guaranteed, and it's kind of it's a nice contract where if he plays well, Lions can re-sign him and extend the contract. And then if he doesn't, it's just 1 year. Boom, you're done. The 10 million is not going to really carry much into the next couple of years. It does a little bit with the way that they wrote the contract for him because there's 2 void years on that. So we will actually be taking his contract on for the next 2 years after he's gone, even if he is gone. But it really, it's not that big of a hit. So I like it. There's obviously concerns with Chark with his injury and everything that he's coming off of. But I think that this is a great pick to kind of shore up the wide receiver 1 for our team. If he can meet his 2019 season, it's going to be really good, really, really great for this team. A couple other ones that have been a little bit less flashy. We picked up a linebacker, Chris Board from the Ravens. He was kind of like their Jalen Reeves may have been. Special teams, he played really well, and he could come in and have some decent plays. We also picked up Mike Hughes, corner from Chiefs. This one I'm gonna talk about a little bit more in a bit, because I think this one has more potential than what people think. And then the one most recent, and it's a familiar face here with Detroit, is our good old friend Jared Davis is back, linebacker who used to play on the Lions. He was our first-round pick, and last year he played with the Jets. He is now back. He has re-signed with the Lions, and now he's going to be a linebacker for us. So that's kind of everything that happened. Just a quick run through. Austin, is there one of these moves that maybe surprised you the most?
Gosh, I mean, honestly, I think the Jared Davis signing, that one kind of hit me out of nowhere. I saw the Ian Rappaport tweet about it, and I was like, "Wow, really? They're bringing him back?" I mean, I don't know. I was just kind of scratching my head trying to think about why they would bring him back, but they
So
must have
yeah,
seen something in him.
well, if you remember when Dan Campbell first got hired and they asked about Jared Davis because he was a free agent, he talked about how much he liked Jared Davis. And, that's a guy that when he's on the defense, you got to know where he's at, type of a thing. And the linebackers that they're kind of needing right now actually fits what Jared Davis did, kind of the downhill, straight at the quarterback kind of a linebacker. So maybe if they can get a little extra out of him, he might fit exactly what we need. But yeah, it caught me off guard for sure to see
Yeah,
Jared Davis come
yeah.
back.
I mean, if they play him in the right scenario, the right packages, I think he could play very well. He struggles with coverage, and that's what killed him when he was first with us.
Right.
So, but I mean, if they strictly have him going after the quarterback, um, I mean, honestly, I think he could do a really good job at that. But dropping into coverage, I think he'll struggle.
Yeah, I agree. Another fun fact, Jared Davis and Alex Anzalone used to be college teammates. They played together in linebackers down in Florida. They and so Alex Anzalone is enjoying having him back. He posted on Twitter something about it's a Florida reunion now or something. So that was kind of cool to see. I think that might be fun for them to, have their college buddies back again, and hopefully the chemistry's there, and maybe it'll increase both their plays. I want to talk quick about Mike Hughes. Have you read much about Mike Hughes? Have you heard the name Mike Hughes? Because when I heard it, I didn't really know who it was.
Yeah, I mean, I've read, a couple things, but when they first signed him, I had no idea who he was.
Yeah. So I went and I did some research on this guy now, and he had I forgot who he played with before the Chiefs, but they played him like the inside in the slot corner, and he struggled mightily. But then he went to the Chiefs and he played outside corner, and he was like a top 15 cornerback in PFF rankings. I think this is the guy who's going to start for us at the beginning of the season. I think it's going to be Amani Oruwariye and Mike Hughes, right? Because he's kind of a veteran presence. He's got a couple of years under his belt. He's still young, though. He's only like 20 something. And we can't really count on Okudah to be back right away. Jerry Jacobs is probably not going to be ready beginning of the year. Are we going to trust for Fitu Melifonwu right out the gate? I don't think so. I mean, I think this is a great signing to really, I think he's going to be our starting cornerback opposite of Amani. And then even if Jeff Okudah's back, it gives us a great guy to have in rotation where needed. I think this was a very underrated signing by Brad Holmes. That, I mean, we got him for rather cheap as well. So
Yeah, 1 year, 3.5 million. So
yeah, I mean that's a steal. Plus, he's now with Aaron Glenn and Aubrey Pleasant, who, as we've seen, can get the most out of these cornerbacks. I think this is going to be a great pick. He's very physical. I love the way he's physical in these games. I went and watched his game film. He is a very physical, downhill tackler. He's going to, I think he's going to play very well for our team, and I think he's going to compete right away for starting job. It's all going to depend on Okuda's injuries and what they're looking like through training camp. But I would not say that. I would probably say as of right now, he's probably corner 1 or 2 even.
yeah, I would agree with that.
Are you? So I'm sure you're not surprised with the Trey Flowers release. Do you feel? Do you feel like it absolutely had to happen, or was that one of the things like, yeah, I think it could happen, but I don't, it could go either way?
No, I was totally in the mindset of, this needs to happen.
Yeah.
And, we've talked about it before about, just being able to save that 10 million, was huge for us. And, the signings that we were able to make, I'm sure there's more that we're going to make. Plus being able to have some in reserve for during the season, because you never know what's going to happen. So, yeah, it needed to happen.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, but
I think so too. I think really, and what's very upsetting about it is I think he really could have been up. Like, I think he could have produced up to the cap or the the money that we were paying him. I think he could have gotten there if it weren't he was always getting injured and he was put in the correct scheme right away. You know what I mean? Like, it's just he was just not in the right spot anymore. It just wasn't correct fit anymore, and it just had to happen. So I agree. Let's talk about the quarterbacks. How did you feel here? And they both got re-signed like same day. So what did you think with the quarterbacks?
So my mindset this year, and I've talked about it before, is that we don't need to draft a quarterback this year. We'll stick with Jared Goff for this year, and then maybe draft somebody next year. So I'm okay with it. I was I was a little surprised that they re-signed both of them. I definitely I like David Blau more than I do Tim Boyle. But I mean, honestly, both of them were, pretty bad last year when they did come
Yeah.
in.
Well, here's
And
the thing. David Blau never came in. Like, he had opportunities that he could have been put in as QB1 where, Tim Boyle and Jared Goff were both kind of struggling, but they instead decided to keep Tim Boyle even when he's hurt, doing whatever. They did not ever give like David Blau starting reps in practice or anything.
no,
So that's what's really, I mean, it's kind of confusing and it's not, because here's the thing with David Blau. He was a restricted free agent. When you're a restricted free agent, this is what that means. You're either signing with our team again or you're not playing football this next year. That's what restricted free agent is. So, I mean, I guess it's understandable that, that we re-signed him, but I mean, not even looking at the draft, there's so many better backup quarterbacks that we could have gotten in like free agency for probably like nothing. I don't really know. I know that Tim Boyle had his first starts last year. That's a valid point. He could possibly get better. It just really, from what I saw, I was not on the bandwagon for believing that he had much more to show. And I think we could have easily gotten a better backup. I mean, heck, we could flip it and have Baker Mayfield as like a backup at this point. And I just don't think we needed both Tim Boyle and David Blau back. And that's not even me thinking that we might take a quarterback in the draft, which is possible. And at that point, like I said, David Blau's contract was a restricted free agent, so it's very, very small. And it's basically nothing to just release David Blau after draft if that's needed. But I just don't get signing them both back at least, because nobody else would have picked him up, right? There's no other team that would have picked him up before or even probably after the draft.
Maybe slight chance. I don't know.
It's odd to me for sure, but I don't know. That one really kind of threw me. Was there any other that really surprised you?
Trying to look through right now. I was okay with the Khalif Raymond re-signing. I've seen some things online of articles that people don't like that re-signing.
Yeah, kind of like the same thing that I had said. Like, we're re-signing the guys that played well, right? Like in a sucky year, you bring back the guys that played well, and you let the guys that didn't, like the guys that are still free agents, Nick Williams and so on, that did not play well, you let them go, and you just continue to get the good guys that did play back. And he's going to do, he's your wide receiver 4, he's kick return, whatever. I mean,
yeah,
he's not getting paid like a top guy. We're basically filling in our
2-year,
depth.
$5 million.
Yeah, we're filling in our depth. That's really all it is. So, I'm not too worried about that. Most of this is depth stuff, and like I said, we're gonna build the team through the draft, which is Brad Holmes' strong point. So, if it why not do that? So, I like that. Let's talk about DJ Chark. Do you have any? Were you more, more for? Because there's a couple guys that Lions were set to possibly be in on. DJ Chark was one of them. Allen Robinson was another. Allen Robinson's contract was actually not much more than DJ Chark on a year-to-year basis, and it was actually longer amount of years. And he signed with the Rams. Was DJ Chark a wide receiver that you wanted?
I had briefly talked about him in our group chat. I just kind of threw his name out there in one of our texts. I'm totally on board with Chark. I thought he played really well his rookie year, sophomore year, and then unfortunately last year he was hurt. For the contract that we gave him, just a $10 million prove it deal. If it goes bad, then it goes bad. But in my eyes, it's all upside. So
it also kind of sets us up that we can like draft some guy to be his successor, like after this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think he has all the tools. I really think he does. He's super quick. He's super, he's the exact type of wide receiver that we needed. The tall guy who can play big. The only issue is, and former Jaguars head coach Urban Meyer said that's one thing that he actually struggled with was just playing big. And that's something that I know he's been working on and everything like that. So I think if we can really get him at like his 2019 season, which he went to the Pro Bowl and everything, I really think that he could be quite a strong force for the Lions at the wide receiver 1 position.
Definitely.
Maybe this year, maybe more if we decide, that he's worth it. But I still think like Brad's going to take at least 1 or 2 wide receivers in this draft and try to, continue to build from the draft instead of big contract guys like Chark.
Yeah,
But
I would be very surprised if we don't draft at least one wide receiver this year.
yeah, I think though with the signing of DJ Chark, our wide receiver's not as big of a need anymore as it was.
No,
Like
I could see like third round, fourth round, they get somebody.
yeah, exactly. I don't think it has to be anymore one of our top 3 picks or top 4 even, because you know how Brad does with getting wide receivers in late rounds, and we have Amon-Ra, we have Josh Reynolds now, and we have DJ Chark. So we've got our starting wide receivers rather set, and I'm not super worried about that at all. So I would be okay with more of like a guy that's going to take a little bit of grooming and getting ready to start rather than, a guy right away. So,
Don't forget we have Quintez Cephas as
oh
well. He'll be
yeah,
coming back from injury.
Cephas, and he's shown some good flashes as well. I don't think wide receiver is as big of a need at all anymore. Like if we had to do, well, let's do that actually. Let's real quick here. Let's go over what our needs are now. What's need number 1 for this team? What do you think it would be?
Oh gosh.
I would think it's edge rusher still, but
Yeah,
let's
either
see real
edge
quick.
or linebacker, I would say.
That's yeah, linebacker too. I just think
I
that
think I might put linebacker over edge.
are you okay? Okay, I'll put linebacker. It's just, I mean, but then edge would have to be too because getting the
Yeah.
pressure is so important. And I was just rewatching the Packers game, our final game against the Packers this last year. I was just watching that one this morning, and Aaron Rodgers had like 5-6 seconds to just stand back there all day, and just picked us apart. It is so important to have people that can get to the quarterback. And having a premier edge rusher, like we have not had one since probably Ziggy Ansah.
And he was
And he dealt with
just
injuries at
so
the time.
inconsistent, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that this defense is just craving edge rushers. But again, we also have not had great linebackers in however many years, which is I think perfect for this upcoming draft because I think we can get both of those early on in this draft. And I'm excited to see that. But yeah, I think linebacker and then edge is our next one. What's our one after that? I still think safety's a need.
Safeties, probably
Yeah,
3.
yeah, because we do have Tracy Walker. Will Harris, I think, is going to be more towards like a down in the box / slot corner guy. I think his role kind of changed at the end of last year, which means in our 2 high safety looks, we don't have another guy right now. So I still think safety is another big need for us. After safety, what are you thinking?
Uh, Probably wide receiver or tight end.
Yeah, I could see that. Trying to think of. I mean, heck, I would go linebacker or edge again, get another get another one. But yeah, I think after that, it's probably got to be like wide receiver. Um, yeah, I think that's. I mean, putting it at the beginning of or probably middle of last year, I'm sure we would have said wide receiver was easily our top need.
Yeah.
And now we're putting it at 4. I mean, that's a solid turnaround. So I'm happy that Brad Holmes is doing that, and I'm sure we're going to get a wide receiver in the draft. I just think it doesn't have to be one of the top guys, So we'll see how it goes in the draft. I'm excited to see how it happens and whatnot. And we're going to talk probably in another episode about what we're looking at with the draft and we're really going to start diving into draft stuff here coming up since we are almost at draft month. And we're going to, do some more mock drafting. We're going to do, we're going to talk about the NFC North in general because lots of stuff did happen in the NFC North that might have made it the worst division in the NFL now. We'll see. We got fun stuff to talk about from a Lions standpoint in the NFC North. But that's all going to come probably next episode. But this is all of the basically everything that's gone on so far in off season. Like you said, though, I'm sure there's going to be more stuff coming soon. It wouldn't surprise me again since they're just filling depth to that they get another safety linebacker or whatever, just for depth purposes. But I think this is basically going to be all of the bigger signings that have happened so far. Was there anything else that I missed? Anything that you wanted to add in?
I was just gonna take a look real quick, just to curiously see who the biggest free agents are that are left.
So far, I think the bigger ones are like Bobby Wagner, linebacker from Seattle. I'm going off of the ones that the Lions would probably be interested in. Bobby Wagner, Tyrann Mathieu, safety from Chiefs is still available. Odell Beckham Jr. is still available. I would assume that's probably going to be about the totality of what the Lions would even consider being interested in because there's not really many big name line. The thing is, though, there are a lot of linebackers like the Jarrad Davis role that are available, but this draft is so heavy with good linebackers that fit that kind of role.
Yeah.
Nobody's going after them because why pay that much for a linebacker when you can grab one third round of the NFL draft and still have him be like an immediate starter. Which is like why I said why it's such a good year for us in the draft, because the needs that we have, they're deep at. The edge class, while, once you get past your top 3 edge rushers, which are the more elite ones in Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeaux, and even Travon Walker has worked his way up into the top 5 pick range. Besides those guys, there's still a very good class of edge rushers that could go like all the way down into mid-second round. So you can get your needs, especially our needs, which are our top 2 needs, linebacker and edge, figured out pretty quick in this draft. So I'm excited. I would love to get, maybe a trade back scenario with a quarterback needy team like Seattle or something and get some extra picks and still get, some of these great players, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We're talking too much draft already. That's not quite yet. We gotta hold off.
One person who still is available is Jadeveon Clowney.
I don't want to touch Jadeveon Clowney with a 25-foot pole. That guy
25.5-foot pole.
Yeah. We'll we can always grab the Jadeveon Clowney 2.0, as he calls himself, Kayvon Thibodeaux, which I don't know if you're any kind of NFL prospect, why you would liken yourself to a guy who is always injured and is never on the field. Oh man, we're gonna talk about Kayvon Thibodeaux. He's gonna be an episode coming up. We're gonna do like one episode on each of our possible top prospects coming up for our first pick in the NFL draft. Kayvon's gonna be one of them. He has had quite the off season. So we're going to get into that at some point. But, until we do, we're just going to hold off on that. But as always, if you have not followed the podcast yet, make sure you're doing that. We are on our Anchor.fm site. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We are also on YouTube. We will be streaming or uploading the video. If you'd like to watch us, you can do so. Make sure you leave us a review, share us with your friends, give us a rates, ask any questions you want. We'll answer them here. And but yeah, until next time, go Lions.